Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so I have turned an emotional corner this past weekend. I feel really good. My mind is a lot clearer than it was. My emotions are balanced. My feelings are in check. I feel good. Prevalent emotion right now is joy and happiness and gratitude. Like, that's the state of being, gratitude. Um, I feel good, and I didn't get there by myself. I am big on asking for help. I'm big on therapy, counseling. Um, I just feel like you could ask for help. You don't have to like struggle. I want this outside to be in here. I want to see outside while I'm doing this. So for me, it's like I believe, like, for me, it's like when things happen, you could just like accept it, or like but you, how do you accept something you don't understand? How do you accept what you don't even know what's happening? Like, people say things like, oh, like in my situation specifically, a lot of people will give me the advice to just like let it go. Just let it go. If that's how she feel or whatever, that's whoever feel, let it go. And it's like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like literally jealous of people who know how to just let things go. And I say that loosely because there are things I know how to let go. Like, but when it comes to relationship stuff for me, like connecting with people and someone I'm connected to, I love, I care about, I respect, like they hurt me, they backstab me, they talk shit about me. That shit is hard for me to just let go, because based on certain programming that I had at a young age, I look at myself like, was I not kind enough to them? Did I say something wrong? Like, I will blame myself for people in the past. I will blame myself for people mistreating me or betraying me or taking my kindness for weakness. I would feel like I did something wrong. I wasn't paying enough attention to the red flags. And I would just be on this rat wheel of understanding, in a sense that's like, it's me. I'm creating this. This is my problem. So sometimes I wouldn't hold people accountable in a certain sense, where I would let them back in my life. So they already showed me that they don't have no respect for me, that they're going to abuse me, that they're going to lie to me, that they're going to betray me, that they're going to steal from me. And I let them back in under the guise of, that happened to me because of me. It's not them. And then I would have this weird type of like, I'd basically say to myself things like, yeah, I see this about them. I see they have this issue. I see that they are a little bit like, toxic or whatever word you want to use. But I would be like, but they still deserve somebody in their corner. They still should have friends. Just because they're a liar don't mean they shouldn't have friends. Like, I can be their friend. I know when they're lying, so I'll just challenge them a certain way, or I'll just ignore it. Meaning, I would let go of like the abuse if I could blame myself and let them off the hook. Then I could let it go. That was the coping skill. If it's my fault, I could let it go. Even though I wasn't letting it go, because I would be fake. I'd be like, no one, I wouldn't know how to really trust them. So I'd be like trying to trust them while not trusting them. So it would make my mind be jacked up in a certain way. And I couldn't really be open and honest with them about how I felt about things. So there was all this little resentment. And sometimes these people would feel it and they would call me out. Like, I feel like you act in a certain kind of way. And even though they're the one who betrayed and did the deed or whatever, my behavior would be brought into question. And I would be like so heartbroken, because I'm like, I'm giving them all these passes and they just gonna tell me and it would just throw me off. So with this latest thing with my mom, I have been doing the work. I have been doing therapy and stuff like that, in the past. And I have a lot of different coping skills. I have pathways to go when things are happening a certain way. And I've taken a lot more accountability for the kind of relationships that I want to have in my life, and being more honest about what those relationships look like and what I want them to look like, and who am I and how I'm relating to myself. So I've been doing a lot of shadow work, a lot of shadow healing, a lot of trauma healing. And I've been working at this, chipping away. So this recent thing that happened that like threatened to slip the emotional rug from under me, it did take me into a tailspin of like intrusive thoughts and a lot of like self-doubt about things. Like, you know, if I can't have a mommy in my life, if I can't have the woman who birthed me to nurture me and care about me, what does the value of me then? What is my value as a person? You know, having those types of existential thoughts around what a mother is and is not. And trying not to do any spiritual bypassing, meaning like, well, we choose our parents and, you know, this is just all happening because of our soul contract. I did that a lot in the past, and it helped. But then when things were, so this past time when things went a little bit shady or whatever, I was like committed to like, I'm gonna have a healthy relationship with my mom. So I'm gonna talk to her and say, this has been a little rough, but whatever. And she didn't see it that way. She saw it as like, you know, basically this is your issue. This is your thing. I don't have the issue. So it's kind of confusing to me because it's like, don't you want to heal what our problem is? But it's being so told to me there is no our problem. It's your problem. And that kind of like threw me off because it was like, so I gotta heal this alone. Okay. What does that mean? And in real time, while this was being said to me, I could feel this is how my mom really feels. And I could accept it because I could feel her truth. I could feel this is how she feels. Like, this is my issue. It really don't have nothing to do with her. And it was confusing because when we talk about generational curses and you have family members that just letting things go, just moving forward, not really processing, not doing any counseling or therapy, anything like that, just kind of moving through it and deciding that this is not going to have a hold on me. And what I'm hearing a lot of is like most of my family members and people who I've had this conversation with who are able to like let it go. The biggest thing is like they just couldn't wait to be an adult. I've noticed that the whole storyline is I couldn't wait to just be able to do what I want to do so I don't have to deal with that person or those things anymore. And for me, growing up with certain things happening, certain traumas being in place, I grew up in the Dr. York Muslim cult. My mom, in her mind, let me spend time with my dad when I was very young. But in my mind, I was abandoned in a whole other country for years. And I didn't want to be. I loved my dad, but I wanted to be with my mother. I was naturally a mommy's girl. I wanted my mommy. So to be left crying and screaming hysterically, I don't want to be here, and be left. And not just for like 30 days, a couple of weeks, like almost, I was like almost 6. And we left when I was almost 8, 7, you know, came back to the States. So all that time without my mother, during what we learned is like the formative years, a lot of things happened while I was there that weren't good for me. A lot of great things happened to me while I was there, but in the end, I wanted to be with my mother, and that was denied of me. And then to come back to the States, and she had already literally got a new family, meaning she married someone. They had a beautiful wedding. There was I have a little brother who's like my Irish twin, but during this wedding, which I didn't even know was happening while I'm there in Trinidad visiting my father, there's another little girl. This man's niece and nephew are the ring bearer and flower girl. I don't bring it up to like trauma, but I'm giving it as reference to things that I endured at a young age that shaped my mind, shaped my emotional landscape before I could make those choices. Meaning these are things that are kind of like happening to me. It's circumstance, and I'm not in control. So by the time we get back to the United States of America, and we're 7 going on 8, by the time I'm almost 11, we have entered now the Dr. York Muslim cult. So in that setting, I don't live with my mother. I live with little girls who are my age. We're like so separated from my mom. I don't get a chance to see my family. So like my grandma, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, all these people who were kind of like stripped away from me when I was left in Trinidad. And then I come back to the States and they're stripped away again. And again, these are things that are happening to me as a child. And as a child, I'm not breaking down about them as much as I am like tucking them away, being strong for my mom. This is my processing, being strong for my mother. and these types of things, you know. So I'm going to a point with this, meaning we talk about generational trauma, and then I talk to other people about it, and they like say, I just let it go. I just couldn't wait to be an adult. My family says some of this stuff. Certain family members say these things to me. They just couldn't wait to. I didn't, but I personally didn't have that instinct. I didn't have that drive of waiting to be an adult. I couldn't even think straight. So I went through a lot of like foggy thoughts as a youth. And what happens is I get older, and by the time I'm like 27, I had my, meaning, so I got pregnant with my second daughter. I'm about 25, 24. She's born in 2006. I would have been 25, yeah. And I went to therapy. It was the first time I went to therapy, like really went to therapy. And I had a beautiful doctor who did her residency in Haiti and had a very good footing on Caribbean lifestyle, also cult lifestyle, religious programming type things. So she was like she was so good with me. And I did cognitive therapy, so I didn't take any type of drugs or anything. We repaved my mind, and we helped open up my heart. And through that therapy, I learned that it was okay for me to say no, stop, I don't like this, you know, certain things like that. But now here I am at 40, and what I have discovered through this last week is that when we talk about being the mantle of the family, or being like, I think sometimes we have to know as people, as human beings, the way we are, spiritual entities, beings, creatures, whatever, having a human experience. I can say that in my experience, I cannot let it go. So all the things that have been let go directly through my grandmother and my mother, I cannot let them go. They're in my lap to deal with. So there's a lot of family history that is steeped in abuse and trauma and things like that. And I could not, after I went to therapy, like I felt I was in a very abusive marriage, and I was able to leave that marriage. But by the time I left and everything like that, and dealing with the stuff from my family early on in my early childhood, and then compounded with the abuse, I realized like I couldn't just let it go. It was sitting in my lap to deal with, and I decided to deal with it. So I left my abusive marriage. I decided not to deal with abusive people in general. That led me on a trajectory where I was at war with my family a lot, because I was saying that these things that have happened, and these things that have happened to us, all of us, they matter. They have to be processed. They have to be healed. And for me, it was like fighting for my mind, fighting for my heart, fighting for what I could feel coursing through my body and my blood, my bones, like this thing that I don't want to deal with because it's not mine. I don't think I'm supposed to have an experience rooted in pain. I don't think I'm supposed to have a mind that I cannot access or use. I remember having a meditation where I was like this was like right around 37. I was trying to kill my heart, literally imagining and meditating hearts being stabbed, and like I didn't want to deal with the feeling or the emotions of feeling neglected, of feeling not wanted, not cared for, not desired. And this had nothing to do with like a man or something, just my family. And having to deal with the illusions that sadness and not being nurtured at a young age, these illusions in your mind, this intrusive language that had set into my mind about my value, my worth, based on how I was handled and treated in my youth. And then when you're talking to your family or the elders who were responsible, there's this general conversation of just let it go, or, you know, the way you saw it as a child is not exactly how it was. You know, my daughter had a great analogy with this. She's like, you know, a child sees the father push the mother down, and it goes through his whole life and say, you push my mother down, and that made me sad. You abused my mom. And the dad is like, I didn't push your mom down. I didn't push her down at all. Like, I did not do that. And you're like, you're lying, Dad. And then the mom's like, no, he didn't push me down. I had a bug on my back, and I came in the room, and he slapped the bug. My grandma made this analogy too, but then my daughter expounded upon it. And my grandma stopped at the point where like the child just saw the mom being shoved. And that's how the child is processing it. But the mom and the dad is saying, Mommy had a bug on her back, and I was trying to get that bug off her back, and she kind of fell for it, but I didn't slap her. the fact remains someone was slapped. So the child might not understand it was an act of keeping the mom safe and all these things. The child just saw the slap. So we have to deal with what the child saw. The child saw a slap. Now the child reasoned and created his own storyline why that slap happened based on who knows what, you know? But the point remains, a slap happened. And so we can't minimize and say, oh, that didn't happen. No, the abuse of your mother did not happen, but a slap did happen. And this is why the slap happened. So you did see me slap your mom on the back and push her down a little bit, but it was because she had a bug on her back and I was trying to save her. Versus you telling your child, that's not how that happened. I can't deal with you making up these lies about the family. Why would you say that about your dad? Instead of you emotionalizing or feeling like the child is attacking you, maybe we just need to address what did happen, which was someone was hit. And that's where I be coming from. I don't be trying to, even with my family, like I'm emotional when I have to talk about these things with them because I'm so passionate about healing and healing my mental traumas, as well as this stuff be hurting internally, mentally, and in my heart. I am not sure if by the time I leave this place, if this hurt or these pains will stay with me, but I am committed to the process of dealing with them, sitting with them, loving myself, learning from this. So in the vein of that, this past weekend, like I said, I turned some corners with some, I watched Fundife, Master Fundife. She's on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. She has some videos out. And her video of the Black Mind, slave, jail, and I believe it is slave, jail, and then Freeman. That really, I watched that thing it's about 7 times now. Because I never heard I never heard some of these things she said. I never heard about the noble arts. I never heard about this. I never knew why Tai Chi attracted me so much. I never knew that the master program that we all have, which primarily comes from our mother first, is something that we could, it's okay if we change it. It's okay if we let that go, if it was not good for us or healthy for us. The next video that I'm going to do a response or reaction video to is by the Skeptical Spiritualist. I love him. I've taken I've done a consultation with him. I've done his dream workshop. He is a great teacher of these spiritual truths. And, you know, he just has a way of putting it in a language that makes it very like normal. So, you guys, if you don't know, I have if you go all the way down, you'll see I did all these meditation podcasts. I had a podcast based on meditation, and I was channeling an energy that stays with me that I call Blue, and Blue was helping me get this message out, and it was fun work. It was very good. It's very promising, but I love meditation. I love a silent meditation. That's my favorite meditation. No music, no prompts, just silence. And he brought up another video on how to meditate, you know, and since this thing happened with my mom, this trigger and everything, I haven't been able to meditate. Being in silence is causing a lot of intrusive thoughts. I have a lot of negativity against myself, from myself, and it's scary because it's I've done so much work. How was this happening again? And I watched that video. It was so good. So I'm going to tag their videos in the description of this video, and then I'm going to upload my videos, and I'm going to have their videos connected to that as well. So you guys can, you know, whoever's watching these journals, these vlog journals, you know, I share this information. Whoever's watching these vlog journals, let me finish that sentence. I want them to know that I upload this because I believe in healing. I believe it is a lifelong journey. I believe in self-love. I believe in self-care. I believe in self-awareness. And I believe in the self. And I believe that the self creates the whole, and all these different cells make a community, and we can have unity once we have it within ourselves. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and upload my response and reaction videos to Master Fundife and the Skeptical Spiritualist, and I'll tag their videos in the description. All right, guys. Here we go. Let's share.